Welcome to The World Awaits.
Travel tales to inspire your wanderlust.
I'm Kirsty Bedford, journalist, editor and travel writer.
And I'm Belinda Jackson, author, travel journalist and columnist, and we're your weekly co-hosts. Welcome back this week. Kirsty is back behind the mic after a few weeks off due to emergency surgery. How are you, Kirsty?
Hey, Belle. Well, I'm still not 100%, but I'm so glad to be back, and I've just really genuinely missed being here and also just being at work. It's amazing when, you love what you do and all of a sudden you have to deal with staring at hospital walls and then lying in bed at home wishing pain away. But look, onwards and upwards, and albeit with a few organs missing.
Oh, God. Well, it's lovely to have you back. And while you were recovering in hospital, I've been gallivanting about town. Sorry, not to make you feel any worse about staring at those four walls, but this is something you can catch up on later on, because I joined an intrepid travel urban adventure, which was with the Australian Society of Travel Writers in Footscray here in Melbourne, for a little morning walking food tour this past week. And it was just delicious. We ate from a whole range of different cultures. Like we ate banh mi from Vietnam, we drank Ethiopian coffee, and we ate cannoli, those delicious ricotta-filled pastries from Italy. And these ones are really the best in Melbourne, and they've been made in Footscray since 1956. And, I've done a couple of these urban adventures around the world, and they are a really great way to get an intro into a city or a country in a few short hours, because you're with a guide. They walk you around, they just get your mind into your new destination. So jump onto the Intrepid website to check them out. Actually, if you go to urbanadventures.com, and we'll add this in the show notes as well.
Sounds amazing, and I do feel very jealous for missing out.
Sorry.
And I was actually supposed to be in the Sunshine Coast hinterland too the week after my surgery, so I missed out on that, but I am determined to get up there. So when I do, you will be hearing all about it from me. But today, before we bring on our guests for this episode, let's chat about recent research from moneytransfers.com about the best and worst places to travel as a solo female traveller. And we will put the full link, of course, in our show notes as well.
Yeah, so solo travel has, been on the rise. More women gaining more confidence to travel alone, and also in some cases not having anybody to travel with or preferring to be alone. I mean, with a family, there's always something to be said about traveling with the whole entourage. But I think it's really great that it's been analysed. I know there are going to be a few contentious mentions here, though.
Yes, for sure, but these ones probably won't be. So starting with the best countries for solo female travellers, and the top of the list is one that's definitely a place that's being talked about a lot for many reasons, and also top of my travel to-do list, and that's Croatia. I mean, glistening beaches, dramatic mountainscapes and stunning architecture and food. What's not to like there? And it's followed by New Zealand, and as Kiwi, of course, I think New Zealand's a very safe place to travel as a solo female traveller, although public transport isn't great, so it has a really long way to go. So if you wanted to venture anywhere off the main trunk line, you would ideally need a car.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's good to know. Others on the safe list are Portugal, Sweden, Japan and the Netherlands, followed by Norway, where you were just at, Spain and Australia. And, I travelled in solo in Spain recently, and, I found myself wandering around Seville at midnight, at 6 a.m, and, I just couldn't get enough of it, but I felt perfectly safe the entire time I was there.
Not like you to be up at midnight, is it, Belle?
All the best things happen at midnight, Kirsty. But no, I was getting up at 6 a.m. because there was just so much to see, like with chucking on my running shoes and just running through Seville. Spaniards don't get up early, so I was just falling in with the local culture.
Well, having just come back from Scandinavia, as you said, Norway definitely felt like a really safe place to travel. And in fact, some recent research found more than 90% of Norwegians say they feel safe walking around at night, and lots of people eat out alone, so you don't feel like you're sort of the odd one out doing that. And public transport is also good too, so everyone seems very relaxed and friendly. Must be all those beautiful fjords. And I was also in Japan a few years ago, and again, very safe destination. There's a lot of order, and we've talked about Japan a lot about this before as well, and how obviously the locals really want you there. They appreciate the tourist dollar, so they don't want to jeopardise that in any way. So just genuinely really kind and respectful culture too. And the research highlighted Japan's low crime rate as a reason it's a top choice. And in fact, its crime score was the lowest.
Okay, well, now to the worst. And top of the list is South Africa, lovely South Africa. The research stated safety is a big factor and it has the highest crime rate of any other country at 75.7 and the lowest safety score. And then it was followed by Brazil for similar reasons, as well as a low number of tours and activities. So, yeah, it's really hard. It's really sad to read out the worst, isn't it? I kind of feel like you're doing a hatchet job on them.
Well, and that was followed by Peru, again for its crime rate, and Chile and Argentina for the same reason. But one that surprised me was actually Malaysia, which ranks 7th worst place for solo female travellers. And the research stated that it has the highest crime rate as any other Asian country.
That actually really surprised me. I would not have thought that Malaysia ranked so badly. I mean, I've travelled there on my own quite a bit recently, and yeah, I felt it was such a beautiful, welcoming country. It's a strange one to have on the list. So I'm sure people are screaming at their phones and computers right now listening to this, but it is based on crime stats. And, you know, of course, it does depend on where you go within these countries. I mean, you know, my solo travel in Chile was without incident, but we'll add the full list. You can have a read about the specific rankings and make up your own minds.
This week, I'm so excited to be talking to Bill Bensley, who's known the world over for his unique, extravagant, colourful hotel designs that are not only uber stylish and sustainable, but he's also a pioneer in creating initiatives that are saving national parks and supporting entire communities. Welcome to the show, Bill.
Oh, well, thank you very much, Kirsty. Nice to be here.
Let's start by just tell us a bit about how you came to be an architect and the architect and designer of some of the world's most prestigious hotels and resorts.
Well, you know, like most good things, it's sort of a fluke. And that on graduation day, when I was graduating from university, I asked my classmate, like, Budak, where are you going to go, like? And he said, I was going to go to Singapore to teach. And I said to him, being an American and not really knowing anything other than California to New York, I asked, well, where the heck is Singapore, like? And he says, I'll give you my address, just come. So 4 months later, I ended up at his doorstep. And a day after that, I ended up on having a job. And I was on a plane to Bali, designing a Bali Hyatt with a man called Michael White or Madi Wijaya, an Australian landscape architect / gardener. And there it's all history.
Amazing. Can you explain to listeners a bit about because you have a very distinctive style, and I know when I see images of your style, it's it's full of color and there's lots of incredible lush greenery. Can you tell us where that style has derived from?
Well, I think that how to say this. I have been for many years trying not to have a style, and because it's really important, I think, as a designer of hotels, is that every single person that comes to me and wants to have their hotel designed wants to have something that's very special of their own, very unique way. So, for example, 3 years ago, I did a few hotels which were deemed as maximalist, and so my latest project is the JW Marriott in Jeju in Korea, on the beautiful island of Jeju, and I've made it minimalistic. And while it's gone over really well there, but I think that minimalistic or maximalist or blue or green or yellow or black and white, the key to my work is that it has to be surprising.
Amazing. Well, I mean, your projects so far certainly are incredible and very surprising. For example, at Shintamani, I know that you have to zip line in, don't you, into the resort?
That was when I launched that idea at Pure in Morocco. It surprised a lot of people, and they said, "Are you actually serious?" And I said, "Yes, I'm very much serious." And he said, a lot of people said, they could be told that by a million people, but because I was Bill Bensley, that they knew that it was really going to come true, and it has. And hundreds of people have gone over that and started their vacation in a very, pumped up manner. And people come off of that full of endorphins and having done just something that they never thought that they would ever do in their entire lives. That's the way to start of their vacation, and how they get into the lobby or into the landing bar, perhaps. And people love it. Absolutely love it.
So on a more serious note, tell us a bit more about that property. And I know that you have really been a pioneer in giving back to local communities, and a lot of people wouldn't realise that you've been doing this long before most other people have jumped on that bandwagon. And tell us a bit about the importance of why you decided to do what you do there, and what the reasons were.
Back in the early 90s was my first time to go to Cambodia. I was doing some work down on a hotel called Hotel de la Paix. And my partner, Sakun Chandrida, he brought me out into the countryside, and I saw people who had had their eyes gouged out with a spoon because they wore spectacles. And the atrocities of the Khmer Rouge there were and are horrible. And at that point, I just said to myself that I'm going to help these people as much as I can. And I got back this morning, back to Bangkok, and we just had our 15-year anniversary of all the students that we've that we've had in our hospitality school at Shintamani and Siem Reap. We have a hospitality school where we take on about 30 underprivileged kids, and we put them through school and pay for all of their meals and books and professors, etc. And we've graduated hundreds of kids, and every single kid, even before they graduate, gets a job, gets a placement. And these are jobs which are fantastic. And last couple of days ago, we had our first reunion. It was our 15-year reunion, where about 200 and something kids, now adults, came back and told us their stories. And we had one man who came from the year one, who had been collecting garbage in Phnom Penh when we took him on as part of our students, as one of our students, and he was collecting garbage and eating garbage to survive. But we put him in school, and now today he's general manager of a hotel. I'm so proud to say that.
Wow. And so is that because a portion of the amount of money when you stay also goes towards those initiatives?
That very much so, yes.
Yeah. And what are some of the other things you're doing too, besides, I mean, that incredible work in the community, is to help the wildlife too. So tell us a bit about the anti-poaching patrol.
I hire, this is going to sound very strange, Kirsty, but I hire a wildlife alliance, and they are a 115-person private army, and they carry AK-47s 24/7, and they are responsible for something like 2 million hectares of Cardamom National Forest. And and Shindamani Wild, my property, in the south of the Cardamom National Forest in the south of Cambodia, occupies something like 10,000 hectares. And so we work hand in hand with Wildlife Alliance and to try to slow down the poaching and the illegal logging by way of poachers, and of course by way of rangers. And of course, we've taken the African principle of moving into the community, but hiring people who were poachers as our rangers. But that's only can work, it can only work so effectively. And like, for example, last week we picked up our 10,000th snare, and we picked up something like almost 1,000 chainsaws. And of course, as you can imagine, a chainsaw in a primary rainforest can cause one hell of a lot of havoc in a very short time. So that there's still big problems. But during the reunion, I met somebody from South Africa who's going to set us up with these trained dogs, these Belgian dogs who are trained to smell wire traps. So, and hopefully I'm going to get some of those, and some of the dogs have to have a trainer that stays with the dog. No other trainer or no other person can talk to the dog. And that's the best way in order to be able to, in Africa so far, that's the best way to be able to find traps and snares before they kill the animals of the forest.
And what drives you to do all of this? Because, you're such a creative at heart, and obviously incredibly talented in the design and architectural area, but yet you're so driven when it comes to these projects. I mean, down to ensuring that you build properties around landscapes rather than chopping trees down. And what sort of drives your ethos behind that?
The way I grew up is that every single weekend, my dad and I go out with my family to the national parks. We go out camping almost every single weekend, and we go fishing. And so from a very early age, I had this love of the wild environment. And then my first degree is in landscape architecture. So, and that was one of the things I learned how to do, is to be able to build and coexist with Mother Nature, and to really understand Mother Nature and what the beauty of what she gives us, and to be able to, and I understand how to work with her to be able to build with a smaller footprint.
And do you think that we'll just continue to see, this, and people increasingly doing and following in your footsteps and doing this type of work? Do you think it's obviously something that people are far more aware of now, both travellers and those who are responsible for building, hotels and resorts?
I do. In fact, I have quite a good following of people, of like-minded people. So, and I'm fortunate enough that I am asked to go to universities from India to Germany, etc., and to talk about how to build sustainably, how to build with minimum impact. And that's fantastic. I am so happy that people are beginning to listen and beginning to understand that we've got just one world, and that we need to take care of her.
Yeah. So what's next on the cards for you?
I've got this fantastic project, and it's all about conservation in the Congo. And it's in north part of French Congo, so it's a little bit safer than the DRC. I've worked at DRC before and been held at gunpoint 4 times, but this is French Congo, so this is much cooler. And it's in a place called the Tri-National Park, and that park is shared between Cameroon and the Central African Republic and North Congo. And we're doing these little tiny little, not resorts, but camps in 4 different places and allow super high-end travelers to be able to see the best gorilla population in the world.
Wow.
In the world. This is where, in fact, Jane Goodall said that she had wished she had studied and the places where we're going to put up camps as opposed to Tanzania.
Amazing.
I've been all over these camps and hiked for hundreds of kilometers to be able to find the places where I want to build. And I am so excited to be able to do something similar to Shintamani Wild in that everything that we do there is all about going back into conservation.
Amazing.
And be able to have more rangers, which is the key, the enforcement of the national laws to be able to stop poachers and illegal loggers. That's the key.
Remarkable. Gosh, I could talk to you all day about your projects. We've really only just touched the surface, but we are unfortunately running out of time. So I'm going to end with the question that we ask all of our interviewees, and that is, what's the most bizarre situation you found yourself during your travels?
Oh, that's a good one. What's the most bizarre? Going back to this Tri-National Park, as I had a really interesting, bizarre story, and that I was trying to find the best place for the camps, and I found a great place, and I was with Mike, the English ranger over there, and I said, Mike, come over here and check this out. It's a perfect place. It's on a slope, and we've got a little river at the bottom of the slope, and it's just to be perfect. Put a little camp here because you've got some open space, which is there's not a lot of pockets of open space there. And he said, Bill, you can't do it. I said, well, why the hell not? He says, you're in the wrong country. So I said, well, where the hell are we? He says, well, we're in the Central African Republic. So we moved 300 meters to the east, and we were okay. So that was a bizarre situation for sure.
That certainly is. Look, thank you so much for your time, Bill. I really appreciate it, and I'd love to catch up with you another time to discuss, your new project too a bit more when it's further down the track.
Bill has made such an incredible contribution to the industry, and the fact he's so passionate about the environment and local communities is truly remarkable. And you can learn more about Bill's incredible work at bensley.com.
You're listening to The World Awaits. We'd love it if you could leave us a rating and review on your favourite podcast platform.
Our tip this week is about where you can watch the world's most beautiful sunset, and who doesn't want to do that? Travel and luggage experts Bounce has looked at factors such as light pollution, recommendations, and Instagram post data to reveal the ultimate sunset destinations.
And the top spot in the world is right here at home at Uluru. Not only was it voted the number one spot to see the sun set, but it was also ranked a top spot for stargazing due to the incredibly low light pollution.
And I have to say, watching the sunset over Uluru is definitely one of my most memorable experiences. The colours are incredible. It seems to go from sort of a luminous red to a purple sort of tinge. Definitely one of those places you have to stand in front of to truly appreciate it, and we're really lucky to have it right here. So I have actually also seen some other really remarkable sunsets fairly recently at Kata Beach in Thailand, where the entire sky was hues of purples and pinks. It was really just sort of otherworldly. And then we also get amazing sunsets down at Smith's Beach on Phillip Island too. I always try and go down there to the beach and grab one whenever I can. But back to the research, and second on the list was Maldives. I mean, think of those crystal clear waters, white sand beaches, creamy bungalows.
I think of them too. I think a lot of people think of them.
Yeah, and I guess there's a few places that beat sort of sitting with a cocktail in hand to a sunset, to all those Instagrammable images we've all seen.
I know. Love Maldives. And back in Australia, I mean, Darwin is always renowned for its sunsets, best watched from the boat clubs on the foreshore. And others to make the bounce list were Haleakala, also known as the East Maui volcano, which came in third place. This is actually a dormant volcano with a Mars-like landscape, and it's become quite popular with multiple tourists going up to the summit. So you might want to time your visit out of peak season. And other top sunset spots were Santorini, of course, Angkor Wat and the Grand Canyon.
The research also found the most Instagrammed destination is Bali, with 184,848 sunrise and sunset posts, and I'm sure there's much more than that right now. And the least light polluted destination was the Galapagos Islands. And we'll put the full list in the show notes because who doesn't love a good sunset?
This week, I'm talking to Chris Sire of Lonely Planet about their annual publication, The Best in Travel for 2024. This year, it's back as a physical book as well as a digital version and lists the best places to visit in the coming year. We've even got 2 of these beautiful coffee table books to give away to listeners. To go into the draw, drop us an email at hello@theworldawaits.au and tell us what's top of your wish list for travel. Chris, thanks so much for joining us on The World Awaits. It's lovely to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's very exciting. We call it Travel Christmas when Best in Travel comes out, so love to share the word.
I know. I always find it amazing. I'm so excited when it's out because it, for one thing, as a travel writer, it validates a lot of the rumors that you hear about where people are going, or and then it helps you plan your year ahead. It's not just readers that use Lonely Planet for that, but this is an amazing list of places of best in travel, which is divided. The book's divided into, or rather, the lists have you recommend a country, a region, a city, a sustainable destination, and also a value destination, which I think is going to go down a treat with readers. Tell us the best country in the world we should be going to in 2024.
Yeah, so what I love about this is independently judged, all done very incognito and in secret. So it's a big surprise to us as Lonely Planet staff members when these lists come out. And so we're all kind of clambering to kind of find out what's the number one country, what's the number one region. And the number one country this year, which was a super big surprise to me, is Mongolia.
Mongolia. Amazing.
Crazy, right? And I think that people have...
I'm not so surprised, actually.
Oh, I'm a little surprised, given some of the other countries on the list, and really, a lot of particularly Southeast Asian and subcontinental countries are really kind of, looking to travel in 2024. But I love this, the emptiest country in the world. And I think one of the big things is it's the 30-day free visa for Australians to travel there. That's really kind of a nice little sweetener and gives a good reason for why Aussies should be thinking about Mongolia as a place to go in 2024.
Yeah, I've actually got it on. I've got it on my list, and a lot of people have been saying to me recently, Mongolia. Oh my goodness, you've got to go. It will be the best experience. It's a funny one that just has come up. For, as you say, those big open spaces, for the the incredible landscapes, the history, the horses. I'm still an 11-year-old pony girl in my heart. So Mongolia has always been very special. But what are some of the other countries that hit that list? What are the others that it pipped?
Yeah, in terms of some, second was India, and that's really, it's a good one to see because, India obviously very much suffered in the pandemic years, and looking to really capitalise on more flight routes going into India. And I love the fact that it's really investing in its train network and really trying to interconnect all the regional capitals, which is great. So it's an easy way to get around rather than having to take flights. Morocco came in at 3.
That's no surprise, right?
No surprise. And two of the other interesting ones in the list is Uzbekistan in at number 7, and Croatia in at number 9. I love this list. Really eclectic and a very interesting mix.
Yeah, absolutely. I took out of that a couple of my wish list is Pakistan, which is on that list, which I think I cannot wait to go to Pakistan. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Chile, which is always great. It's an incredible country and so much variety in that really long, slender country. You've got the whole Patagonian thing happening down south. And then at the very top, you have the Atacama, one of the driest places in the planet. And I think, for that reason, Chile deserves a gong on its own. That's super exciting. What about Australia? How has Australia gone in this one? Because we're not the country to visit. So you were just saying you were at Kangaroo Island recently, and where did that? Because that featured on the list, didn't it?
Yeah, so that's in our top regions list, and it's coming at number 2 in the top regions to visit in 2024. And it's an interesting one for me because we saw a lot of travel companies coming out last year and sort of saying Kangaroo Island's the place to go. It wasn't really ready for the kind of tourism spike. In 2024, it's going to be best positioned to take advantage of that. And that's one of the differences that Lonely Planet's Best in Travel is about rather than a lot of these other lists, is we're always looking for reasons for people to go in the year to come. And it may be about new openings, it may be about better connectivity into a destination, it may be about that we've discovered that there's a real misconception about the place, or it's really revitalised. And revitalisation is what Kangaroo Island is all about. It is going to have several new openings in late 2023 and early 2024, and there's going to be a new ferry link going across from Cape Jervis into Penneshaw from the island. So there's going to be better connectivity to get on there. So it's really positioned to take advantage of the buzz and take advantage of the tourism. And actually then you've got that amazing wildlife, the food and wine, and the kind of adventure that you can all have on the island. And this is a place that's bigger than Singapore. So there's a lot of stuff that can be done there.
Oh, no, it's crazy to think that. And it's really lovely also to see it on there because it had suffered so badly with the bushfires. And so this is a renaissance for Kangaroo Island. I was so happy to see it on the list. Where are some of your other favourite places close to home? Because we've got fabulous things like your top city is Nairobi in Kenya, which is such a crazily vibrant place, and for best value, you're in the Midwest in the USA. But any other little surprises in there that you would that caught you with?
One of the ones that I, and I've not, hand on heart, have not been there before, but it's definitely gone onto my list really quickly, is Palau.
Yeah.
And I loved this idea of Palau have actually released, it's on our sustainable list this year, but they've released an app that allows you to, if you travel more sustainably and log these sustainable experiences, so that might be, eating at a local restaurant, using kind of reef friendly sunscreen, etc., you then can unlock new experiences by getting points on this app, and you get access to experiences that other people don't get. And I'm like, what a way to incentivize people to travel responsibly. I absolutely love that. I think it's brilliant, and that's definitely something that I want to do in 2024. So that was a big tick.
Yeah, and it's in the neighbourhood as well too. So we often overlook what we're looking at Turkey or we're looking at France, but it's so close to us, Palau. I mean, apparently it's an outrageously big karaoke scene. So if you're into karaoke,
I love that. I didn't know that. Great karaoke. I can pull out a couple of Celine Dion songs. I love it.
I just interviewed a bloke from Palau recently, and he said it was like the sport on the island. I was like, oh, get me to Palau now. So,
I wonder if they have medals for best karaoke. Now it's just giving me all the more reasons to go.
That is just bringing out your. It's karaoke. It's not a blood sport, friends. So done. So that's really nice having that there. Another one in our neighbourhood, which I thought was really interesting, is Jakarta. So the capital of Indonesia comes up in one of the best cities to visit in 2024. A little bit of a surprise. That was a huge surprise. As one who has lost a portion of her life sitting in a traffic jam in Jakarta, tell me why I should be going back.
It's interesting, isn't it? So there is an acknowledgement that the traffic is absolutely horrific. So that is something that has to be done. But it was actually the coffee culture and the kind of cafe and that kind of culture that really kind of caught our attention and really came through as something to experience a different side of Jakarta. So I love the fact that we're able to kind of find in cities that have that we think are going to be a particular way, that we can find interesting ways into them to have really authentic experiences. And I know authentic is such a buzzword in travel, but I really like the fact that we can find those angles and those ways in. The other one that's really close to home, which I also love, is in the best value list. We have the Southern Lakes and Central Otago across the ditch in New Zealand. And it's not the wineries, which is the reason that it made the list. It's actually all the new cycling trails. So cycling became a really big thing when you're actually reading a lot of the entries. There's quite a few cycling routes in there, but by 2025, Queenstown is actually going to be linked right through to Dunedin in terms of connected cycling trails. So making it a really interesting place to kind of do a bit of pedal power rather than jumping in a car.
Unbelievable. Oh, that sounds amazing. As one who just spent the weekend following a rail trail, you just see, I was in central Victoria on the Great Victorian Rail Trail, and and you just see it really is an integral part of tourism there, and I can't see why that wouldn't be the reason with New Zealand. And those long trails, they just beg for you to just keep going. You just think, just another 10Ks and I'll be in another place with fabulous coffee and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm exhausted and caffeinated at the same time.
I love the fact that what it does is we're showing these destinations that we think is something, but we're showing it through a different lens and saying actually there are other things and other ways to experience. So that's why I'm a big fan of the way that we create these lists.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that it's really it gives pause for thought when you've got a section on sustainability that has places like Greenland, which is. Everybody's talking about Greenland at the moment, and Hokkaido in northern Japan, which is brilliant, and also things like the eco lodges in South Africa, which are astonishing. I mean, you've got to have that conversation with yourself how to get there. That is always the issue with that sort of thing. But then, as you say, like with Palau, once you're there, how to minimise your footprint while you're travelling.
And that's it, isn't it? As Aussies, we've got to travel a long distance to get anywhere, don't we? But I think that if we can then make smart choices or think about our choices when we're in destination. And in terms of that sustainable list, the one that did surprise me was Spain actually topped the sustainable list. But when you drill down into the reasons why, it is about better connectivity to smaller regions via rail rather than taking planes or short plane rides. It's about the tourism organisations in Spain trying to spread the load, so getting people out of places like Barcelona, Madrid, Seville, and going to more regions, so we're able to kind of spread travel money more widely. And we know travel dollars are really important to small communities because that money gets reinvested into those local communities, often employs locals. So we want to make sure that we are spreading that financial opportunity to smaller regions and not just concentrating it all in those big cities. So I love this list, that sustainable list, for those reasons as well, giving you a different way to think about things.
Yeah, absolutely. And Spain is the master of regional food as well. As you know, I was in Spain recently. The train network and some of the initiatives that they've been doing to enable cheap and even free travel between the regions is really quite amazing. That they and that is one of the features, I think, across. There's a couple of features that I'm looking at on the list. You see a lot of train links, like in the value section, the night trains in Europe, which I've night trained all around Europe, which I think is amazing. And you're saying, India's trains were a reason it was named the second in the country list. And I think India's trains, even before they were improved, were just so gorgeous and so great. And then and the cycling theme, as you said earlier, the top region to visit is the Western Balkans, and the new cycling routes that are happening there.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's 3,500 kilometres of cycling trail interconnecting 8 different countries.
Oh my gosh, that's not a holiday. That's a lifestyle, isn't it?
It's crazy. But you think about it too, because you kind of got the Adriatic Ocean, you've got UNESCO heritage kind of villages and cities, you've got the beautiful mountains in the background. The way that you can kind of experience that, I think, is absolutely extraordinary. And that is a cycling route that is going to be completed and opening in 2024. Like everywhere, it basically takes you from Slovenia right down to Albania. So really, absolutely incredible, eh?
Oh, so exciting. We're going, and I know we're jumping around a bit, but we're going to put the list on our website. So, and we'll also steer you across to the Lonely Planet. So take a look in the show notes for that one. Now, Chris, before you go, I'm going to ask you the question we ask all our guests. What, and I'm sure that you're going to have many, what is your most bizarre travel experience? And does that involve karaoke?
Oh, it doesn't, but it does involve. It does involve some. I know, right? It does involve somewhere on the list. So I was supposed to do a trip to Greenland out of Iceland, and I actually missed my plane, which was unfortunate, and had to do a slight pivot in terms of what am I going to do today. And I ended up snorkeling between the tectonic plates in glacial meltwater. Would you believe? So in a big kind of like, rubber suit where only my eyes were exposed.
Okay.
And it's a crack in the earth, which the glacial meltwater falls into, which is the deepest you can see down anywhere in the world. And it was like, okay, so this is bizarre. I expected to be in Greenland today, and instead I'm snorkeling in glacial meltwater.
Unbelievable. And what did you see when you were there?
It is a long crack in the earth, and it makes me understand why Jules Verne wrote Journey to the Centre of the Earth after he'd been to Iceland and was inspired by it. But it is just this deep, long, going down. There are some fish and a little bit of kelp, but it is just crystal blue waters going right down, further and further and further into the earth, and then it just kind of disappears into darkness. It's nuts.
Oh my!
So that's my bizarre story.
That is bizarre and slightly terrifying as well. Chris, thank you so much for joining us today on The World Awaits. We're going to put that list of the best in travel for Lonely Planet on the website at The World Awaits, and congratulations on what must have been an enormous task for Lonely Planet. We can't wait to visit all those places next year.
It's amazing, and we're already on to Best in Travel 2025 now.
Unbelievable. We'll look forward to having you back next year to talk about that one. Thanks again.
Love it. Thanks.
That was Chris Zire of Lonely Planet talking about the new book, Best in Travel 2024. And remember, we have 2 copies to give away to listeners. Just email us at hello@theworldawaits.au to throw your hat in the ring.
That's a wrap for The World Awaits this week. Click to subscribe anywhere you listen to your favourite pods. And where can people find you, Kirsty?
I'm at Kirsty Wrights on Instagram. That's KIRSTIE Wrights, WRITES. And where can people find you, Belle?
You can find me at globalsalsa.com or on Insta at global_salsa.
Thanks for listening. See you next week.